Okay, happy Monday, guys. We are starting fractions today in math, and that's not so bad. This week's kind of fun in fractions. Fractions can be fun. And today's lesson for sure is not real hard, as you've seen in the videos you've already watched. So I'm going to give you some examples of what your homework is going to look like this week, or today rather. And well, my examples are always what your homework is going to look like to kind of help you through that. So be sure and watch this so you'll make sure you do your questions right for your homework, okay? So the first part is really, really simple. It just wants us to think about fractions and how many pieces of a whole a fraction is. And so you can't get much easier than this. Answer the questions below based on the tape diagrams. So we've got tape diagrams drawn for you already. And the first few questions are just like this. How many thirds add up to one whole? In other words, how many thirds does it take to equal 1? How many thirds would it be? It would be 1, 2, 3 thirds. So on your homework, you'll just put the number like that. You'll just type in the number, okay? How many fifths does it take to add up to one whole? Now, look at this picture. It shows 4/5 filled in, but that's not what it's asking, does it? It doesn't say what fraction is this. It says how many fifths add up to one whole. Well, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4. It takes 5 fifths to add up to a whole, doesn't it? Okay. And so see how easy these are? They're super duper easy. I turned 2 pages accidentally. Next one says how many fourths add up to one whole? Again, don't let the pictures confuse you. It's just showing you fractions. This is 3 out of 4 or 3/4. But the question is how many add up to one whole? 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths add up to one whole. The next one, how many sixths add up to one whole? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sixths add up to one whole. How many eighths add up to one whole? What do you think it's going to be? It's going to be 8, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 eighths equal one whole. Okay. And then it's asking you the same things again, some of the same questions. It's just showing you different pictures. How many fourths add up to one whole? Now think about this. How many fourths add up to one whole? This represents that 1 right here, okay? This bar right here represents one whole. So this is an extra one over here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5 fourths. But we don't want to know that. We want to know how many fourths it takes to equal this 1. Well, it's easy. 1, 2, 3. There's 4 fourths in one whole. How many thirds are in one whole? There's 1, 2, 3. From here to here is one whole. 3 thirds in one whole. And they're just showing you can have more than 3 thirds. You can have more than a whole. So this piece, you've got one whole and you've got 2 more thirds, don't you? But the question says how many thirds adds up to one whole? It's 3. Be careful not to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your assignment. Make sure you pay attention and see how many add up to one whole. How many eighths is the next one add up to one whole? We've got like 9, 10, 11 there, but that's not one whole. One whole is just from here to here, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eighths. Do you see what the pattern here? So if we're looking at it as a fraction with 8 on the bottom, how many eighths equal one whole? 8 eighths are one whole. Okay. Same thing here. 3, 1, 2, 3. We look at the denominator being 3. It takes 3 thirds to equal one whole. And then it takes 4 fourths to equal one whole. You see the pattern there. 4 out of 4. If you have 4 blanks, you got fill it in 4. That equals all of them filled in. One whole piece filled in. So this is really simple. And then we get to the next part of our homework, and it's really fun. It's super easy too. Now, when we're adding the fractions like this, this is just saying we have this many sixths, 1/6. When we add them like this, we're going to leave the 6 on the bottom because that doesn't change. Then we're just going to add the numbers on the top. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So our answer is 6 sixths. Now, when you are typing this in on your keyboard, make sure you use, I'm going to draw it over here, make sure you use that backslash key. If your keyboard's just like mine, it's down near the right on the bottom under the question mark beside the shift key. So make sure you use that. So when you type it, it's going to look like this, and the computer will count it right then, okay? All right, so that's how we're going to type fractions on our computer. All right, let's do these right here. There's fifths. We've got 1/5 plus 2/5 plus 1/5. So how many fifths are there altogether? Well, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 more is 4. So our answer is 4/5. Okay, part C. We've got eighths this time. The number on the bottom stays the same. Let's see how many eighths we have. We have 3/8 plus 3/8. 3 plus 3 is 6. And one more would be 7/8. This is easy, isn't it? That's kind of fun. Simple addition. All right, leave the 8 on the bottom here. Let's see how many eighths we have. We've got 7 plus 1 is 8. Plus 3 more, that's 11/8. That's an odd fraction. It's an improper fraction we'll learn later. We can do something more with it later, but today we can just leave it 11/8 on our assignment. A few more. All right, so the number on the bottom stays the same. We've got tenths. How many tenths do we have? We've got 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 2 more is 12/10. So we're just going to type in on our keyboard today for the assignment 12/10. You don't have to change anything. It's okay that the number on top is bigger for today. Later on, like I said, we'll know to do something different with that. But today, just leave it 12/10. All right, 12 on the bottom here. We've got 12ths. How many 12ths do we have? We have 8/12 plus 3/12, which is 11/12. 11/12 plus 4 more would be 15/12. 15/12. Oh, look at this one. We've got 1 whole plus 2/3. How are we going to write that? We're just going to write it like it looks. We have 1 whole and 2/3. This is called a mixed number. A mixed number. And a mixed number contains a whole number and a fraction together. So on your keyboard, you want to just type the number 1. Don't space. Just leave the 2/3. So it's actually going to look on your keyboard. It's going to look like 1, 2/3, like that. It's going to look funny. I don't think you need to space. If it counts it wrong, if you don't space, then I'll go back and fix it. You can try it both ways. You can try spacing and try without spacing. I'll need to check and see how it's going to count it right on the computer, but I will check it anyway. So don't stress if it counts it wrong. I'll go look and see. Okay, probably, I guess, let's just say go ahead and space on your computer. Otherwise, it's going to look like 12/3 on the computer. So when you type this one in, let's do 1 and then space bar and then put 2/3 like that. So do put a space, do put a space between these as you type it. Just trying to make sure you type it right where it's going to count it right, okay? Otherwise, it's going to look like 12/3. So put a space between the whole number and the fraction on these. All right, we've got another mixed number here. We've got a 1. And then how many 8s do we have? We've got a certain number of 8s we've got to figure out. We've got 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8, plus 3 more is 2 plus 3 is 5/8. So on our computer, we're going to put 1 space 5/8, okay? That line just means space. You don't actually need to write a line on your computer. I'm just reminding you to space, okay? So I think you can do this. This is super easy. Just make sure you're on these. You just make sure you leave that whole number there and then add these fractions, and you'll have it, and you'll have a 100. First day of fractions. I think you're going to do great. Go give it a shot. We'll talk about it during our meet too if you have any questions. See you later.